Without warning, this man decides to drop these chapters. I finally finished volume 3, and as soon as last week Monday, because by the time I'm uploading this is probably going to be Monday for next week or the Tuesday after, because I'm editing a lot of videos, this man decides to upload and release the brand new chapters for volume 4 of Monster Remake on Monster Remake Monday last Monday. And I am ready to get started on a brand new volume for Monster Remake. So let's get to the reading, let's break it down and tell you my thoughts on the brand new 2 chapters, because these are the 2 new free chapters that have recently come out for chapter 26 and chapter 27. So chapter 26 is titled 17 Years Ago Part 3. So we are continuing the same format of doing the flashback kind of sequence where we're going through following the storyline with our 2 main guys of these chapters, Lucas Kane and Mandata. Now in this chapter we get a little bit of more understanding of what's going on and why everything is happening in the current day. So we start off with a monologue from Mandata, and he's breaking down the 2 worlds that we live in, or the 2 worlds that exist, essentially combining them and breaking them down like yin and yang. First, he describes our world, which he describes as the world of light, an observable reality bound by laws that govern our lives. And then he also breaks down the other world that he seems to have somewhat discovered, which he calls an invisible realm ruled by impossibility, a world of dark. And basically he's been working his entire life to try and bridge the gap between these 2 worlds, calling them the gap between dreams and reality. And he says as of recently, because of his research, they reached a limit and he might have found a way to make that gap a little bit smaller. And the reason why he's been doing this research seemingly is that it's based off the fragility of humanity, making that at the later point, because of how everything's progressing, because of greed draining our resources and the population growing and starting to balloon, he sees that humanity is going to only have one ultimate outcome at the end of everything, and that is extinction. So he believes the world to a degree is broken, and he believes that the world needs some kind of savior. So all of his research, he's going backwards and forwards, trying to see how to solve this problem. He makes a breakthrough, basically reaching to a point where he discovers that he can manifest and manipulate and harness the power of the human soul. And because of that discovery, he was able to get funding by Mr. Sonata, the head of the Sonata Industries, and approved his project called Project Anima. I am not entirely sure if I am liking this so far, but I am going to break this down later on. So this is just going to be the read-through breakdown, and then I'm going to get to the point where I give you all of my thoughts, okay? Now, Project Anima, we break down and we finally get our first look of what the Prometheus engine actually looks like. And it looks like this human head that kind of looks like Brainiac from DC, having all these mirrors and spheres, and it's the head of like a giant machine. And the goal of this construction of this machine is to create a haven on Earth, and because of this device he believes that that can be achieved with 3 main steps. So it seems like the device is supposed to take in a person, a human soul in essence, and is supposed to go through 3 steps. The first step is fission, where upon entering the core, an individual's body is split from their soul, and the energy is released from the reaction and ignites the engine. So the engine doesn't have an alternate power source outside of, I believe, the electricity in the facility that they're working with. It believes that it feeds off the energy of the human soul, I believe, from what I'm breaking down. The second step is the siphoning stage, where the engine then absorbs the power from the world of dark in order to fuel the Wishmaker's desire. So from what I understand when I first read it, or read it 2 or 3 times, the Wishmaker is supposed to be the person whose soul is getting split. And basically, as they're going through this machine, they are able to request and aim for one wish to be granted. How exactly does that work? I have zero idea, but we gonna look through it. We're gonna break it down. We're gonna try and see if we can understand this later. And then the final step, the third and final step, is manifest. The Wishmaker must align their wish with the soul in the core. So I am not entirely sure what they mean by that, because they say the wishmaker must align their wish with the soul in the core. So is there a core in the Prometheus engine, or is it the core of the individual? I am not sure, but we will figure that out. But in essence, what he says, when all of those 3 steps are achieved, reality can be rewritten to their own image. And we come back to the semi-current point in time from the last few backstory chapters or flashback chapters, where Mandata and Lucas are talking to each other, and he's basically breaking down everything. And Lucas tries to say, does this normally happen because of the device? And he says no. He basically explains that whoever last used the engine got too greedy in the siphoning phase, and instead of absorbing energy slowly, they shattered the barrier between the 2 worlds, causing that massive black hole rift that occurred on the first day of the Blackest Night. And because of this realization and because of this greed, they have yet to actually get their wish granted. Now, Mandata's plan is simply he wants to get to the machine and use its power to bring everything back to normal, thinking he can use his will and use his wish to reverse everything, to make everything go back to normal. But Lucas is not messing with that, because he believes that once this night ends, we have to destroy the device. It does not need to be around. It's causing all of this hell in the first place. And he makes a claim to him, making it known that we are men, not gods. So if we want our wishes granted, we have to work to make them come true. But Mandata doesn't seem to be hearing none of it. He kind of seems to ignore Lucas, kind of looks past him for it, and he begins to start talking to Zuri or Rafi Zuri, and are just breaking down how they're going to get supplies to survivors in a certain instinct or in a certain precinct bunker to help them out. And before he sends him on his way, Zuri decides to break down and tell Mr. Mandata that he believes that everything is his fault. He believes that how can you trust me after he gave the raiders the location of the engine, and he believes that he let all of this happen. So right there we get a quick addition confirming that the city is now having some problem with raiders. I am not entirely sure what they mean by raiders. I do not mean like citizens who decided to start looting everything. I don't know if that's what he means, but later on in the chapter they kind of show what these raiders are, but that kind of makes me a tad bit more confused, but I'll break that down when I get there. But Zuri believes that it is his fault that Mandata's family is dead, but Mandata pushes back and says, no, you didn't do this. This is not your fault. It is my fault. So he says, do what you can to help us fix this problem, and I will forever be in your debt. And Lucas gives him a letter also to hand off to his wife and daughter to let him know that he's going to be okay after they save the world. Now they start to plan to figure out where the actual location of the labs are. The labs are past Sonata Tower on this place off the coast of Eden called Providence Island. Now, seemingly from their conversation, there seems to be a shift in the militia or the police sectors in the city, with raiders and the militia kind of having this rebellious state to them. I'm not entirely sure what Lucas is trying to imply here, because he's saying that some militia actually kidnapped Mr. Sonata or something at Sonata Tower or something, like his boss, and I'm not entirely sure who kidnapped him. I'm not sure if they're talking about the raiders or militia, because they're saying 2 different people, but I don't know for sure. But they break down their plan, try to figure out where they're trying to go, and they want to get to the lab as quickly as possible. So they hop on Lucas's bike and start heading towards Sonata Labs, or they start heading to Providence Island. And on their way to that path, they drive past Sonata Tower, where Mr. Sonata should be. But apparently it seems like the tower was also raided. And as he was driving, Lucas doesn't realize that there's a bunch of spikes on the road. So his bike's tires give out and he gets sent flying with Mandata, and they get caught in a net. While they're caught in the net, we realize that they've been captured by the head of Sonata Security, Jesse Powers. Now, seemingly Jesse believes that these 2 are raiders, claiming that she has already dealt with raiders that already originally came to location and she drove them off. But Lucas and Mandata try to instantly clear their names, saying like, no, we're not raiders. I am Officer Lucas Kane, ECPD, and I am Dr. Mandata Riaz from Sonata Labs. And she doesn't know who they are. She doesn't know any of them. She says like, I've never heard of you in my entire life. And they're kind of confused, thinking like, bro, aren't you like famous or something? How did they not know you? But either way, Jesse gets a call from Mr. Sonata, I believe, claiming that she already knows who they are, so she can let them go. But before she can let them go, she gets her name called by this random big behemoth man with the ponytail that looks like supposed to be some kind of buff samurai man. Like, this is a cool fit. I won't lie to you, this is a cool fit. But seemingly these are the raiders that were here before, or related to the raiders that came before. I do not believe he came at the location the first time, but raiders were there before, so this is probably one of their captains or leaders or soldiers, something like that. And those raiders are from a place called Prima Corp Securities, so they are the ones who originally raided Sonata Tower. Now Lucas is begging her to let him down so that they can help her, but she says, nah, it's all good, I can handle this, as a matter of professional courtesy. And both of them are going to start throwing hands, because the raider comes up and says, look, just hand over Sonata and we promise you a quick death. But she says, nah, I let y'all go the last time and you wasted it, now you're not getting another chance. And from there, a lot of the grunts that were with the raiders get riddled with bullets with machine guns that were on the top area. They got spawned from the Sonata building and riddles them with a bunch of bullets. Guy hit them with hundreds and hundreds of bullets. And she throws a kunai and frees the both of them from the net. And this is a cool panel. I will admit, this is a really cool panel where you can see she throws the kunai from the bottom panel on the bottom right to the upper left to where you can see that she frees him. I'll give him that as a really cool panel. This is a cool panel. I don't think I've seen this in a while. Like, it's a little bit similar to like Goku's instant transmission or Kaioken flow through. Not entirely the same. I'm not trying to compare it to that, but it just gives me this similar feel. Now, they fall down from the net and Mandata says like, look, forget about everything, let's run, grab the prototype and get out of here. Which the prototype, I must have missed it. I do not know what he means by the prototype. Genuinely, I do not know. So I believe the prototype is supposed to be something they spoke about in the previous volume. I would have to look back to make sure, but I believe the prototype is supposed to help them deal with the device, to help stabilize it or use it properly. But as they're running, Lucas says, no, like, look, let's go help her. But Mandata says, look, bro, we're not gonna do this. She captured us the first time she saw us, and we gotta get to the island as quickly as possible. So we gotta just do everything for ourselves, leave her be. But Lucas says, like, look, and Mandata just screams at him, saving her is not your job. But Lucas believes in protecting people, that is his ultimate goal. So he says, nah, it may not be your goal, but it is my job to protect people, so I'm gonna go protect her. And Mandata freaks out because now he has a gauntlet in his hand. He puts this metal gauntlet and it's called the nano gauntlet. And Mandata is not happy with him taking it out because he screams at him, this is only meant for emergencies. And Lucas replies, but this is an emergency. She's getting folded. She's fighting this massive behemoth of a creature. Let's help her out. In the meantime, while they're arguing, Powers is getting rocked by this massive behemoth, but they're going blow for blow. It's a pretty interesting frame. It's a cool fight, I won't lie. Giving him that nasty kidney punch on the side of him. That's a nice body shot right there. I won't mind it. It's a fire body shot. But in this conversation, the raider is saying, like, you could have been one of us. You could have been with us, and we would have been happy to have you with us. But why did you have to not avoid? And basically asking her, don't you regret not joining us and being free from these decisions? And she says, look, I've never made a decision that I've ever regretted. But in the midst of the fighting, Lucas decides to distract him by screaming his name and says, clear the way. And then Powers decides to kick the raider in the chest to distract him. And this man, Lucas, has a massive sonic wave cyborg blasting hand on him now. So the nano gauntlet is supposed to be this destructive device that when it activates and he fires it, this man blew the raider's head clean off. That man does not have a head anymore, or relatively. Like, you can see a little bit of something, but like, no, I don't even want to pretend. I'm not even going to pretend. Bro's head is gone. It's gone. Like his lower, like this upper body has been singed. He's not alive anymore. And Lucas is like, yo, what the hell is this? I didn't know this was gonna happen. What is that? And he just apologizes to Mandata, takes the gauntlet off quietly and puts it in the case that it was originally taken out of. Now we have someone coming out of the shadow saying, hey, is it okay for me to come out? And Powers is saying, look, I thought I told you to stay hidden, but they said, nah, I need to come out because I needed to see him in person, assuming it's supposed to be Mandata. And Mandata assumes it's Mr. Sonata. Is that you? He asks that question. But it is not Mr. Sonata, at least I believe. it is supposed to be Xavier Sonata, who is the son of Mr. Sonata, which brings us to the end of that chapter. Now, I am not exactly the biggest fan of the first chapter. I'm going to break it down soon. I'm going to move on to the next chapter first because the next chapter is pretty recent. So I'm going to go through the second chapter also, and then I'm going to give my breakdown at the latter end. So now, next chapter is chapter 27, and it's called Retro Love. Now, we get a first panel where it seems to be a flashback with Jabari and his mom. And his mom gave him a guitar, and he's having fun playing the guitar, jamming out, having his fun. And she says she got him this guitar so that he can make his dreams come true. And she asks him to play him something, having fun, right? But it seems like he was probably dreaming about it or just reminiscing about it. And we're back into the present day where he first went to bed in the last volume when he was like cowering in his bed, sleeping on it. And the music in his headphones got bumped up like 11,000 volts. And his little sibling was bumping up the music loud so that way he can be awakened, and told him, bro, like, get up. Like, we got stuff to do. Your mom wants us to get in the car and go somewhere. And they're kind of having like their little sibling rivalry fighting right there. And then we have the other parallel, like in the last volume, with Liam, and he's being waken up by the robot. And it's giving him a mission briefing, and it says that it's a perfect opportunity for him to redeem him for his previous actions in the last volume before he got hit with the kill switch. And then we get this little panel where it shows the little ring for Nala that he never got to give to her. So we get the reminder that this man is still living with the pain of the death of Nala. Now, for the next few panels, we're getting a breakdown of the home lives of the other hounds. So basically, as Liam is getting the mission briefing, he sends a message to all of the other hounds, Allison, September, and Han. First one, we're seeing Allison, and Allison is in her own little room, and she's been waiting for a mission, because as you can see by her reaction, she's finally ready. She's finally getting some action in. But right after she gets a text message, her mom knocks on her door and says, I know about the stunt you pulled at the hospital. And she thinks that what she's doing is just childish and unnecessary, wondering why she thinks this is funny to do. But Allison obviously, for the most part, doesn't care. But her mom came to her not about the hospital, but talking to her about an anniversary. The anniversary is next week, and she comes to her because she was worried about her. And the mom is asking her kindly, hey, come home, we all miss you, including the company board. Just come in and say hi, trying to convince her to come back to somewhere, which I assume is her helping her with the hospital situation. But Allison breaks away, does her lack of remorse kind of thing, like she breaks away from whatever emotions that she's feeling at that moment and breaks away from her. And she's talking to her mom saying, you haven't changed one bit, and the answer will always remain no. And the mom was screaming, how long will you waste your life on this hound nonsense? And Allison, with vitriol and the most anger she's probably shown so far in the series compared to volume 1, saying as long as it keeps her away from her. And seemingly as she got a call, it seems like she got a call after that interaction saying, yeah, I'm on my way, seemingly from Liam. That little panel there's shift kind of feels weird, but yeah, seemingly she got a call from Liam and she's saying she's on her way to the location. Next is September. Now, September gets the text and she tells her little brother, hey, can you fold up the laundry? We got stuff to do, clean the dishes. But the brother clearly seems to care. He says, you got it later, sis. You'll be good. Man is just kind of doing his thing. And then she gets called by who I see, but then she gets yelled at. Her name gets yelled by seemingly who I believe is her father. And her father is a raging drunk. A man who seems to be blaming her for her actions, thinking that she doesn't care about her family because all she has to do, all she's doing is just going and doing things for school, doing things for work, and not making time for her family. Trying to say that she's always sacrificing time for your family to shill for Sonata, saying that she's becoming a Sonata dog, kind of. But she already replies, it says, will they pay the bills? But then all she replies is, well, they pay the bills, so but she gets cut off by the dad saying, what, so you're saying I can't provide? And she goes on a ramble saying, I served in the Gaia military to protect our family, our world. It was Sonata soldiers that did this to my leg, showing that he is a disabled veteran. But after being berated, September just simply says, I have to go, and while being yelled at, she just continues to walk out. And then we move on to Han. Han currently, right now, is still investigating to figure out what happened at the gas station and what happened to him and what happened to his friends that were killed by him. Now, seemingly he has his little robot buddy. I do not know who he is, but he's kind of roasting him, saying that he's like, hey, what am I missing on this vision board? And he doesn't specify the mystery board, but so he thinks it's like, oh, what am I missing? And the robot just says social skills, athletic body, and a girlfriend. So obviously he's just cooking him. And he's like, bro, that's not what I meant. I meant the mystery board. And he says, I do not know. And as you move on to the next frame where you see his family is full of people. His family is really big. I'm assuming he has multiple brothers and sisters, and seemingly he is kind of like the middle child, not really completely noticed by everyone around him, and kind of only used when you make a tad bit too much noise. Because as he's preparing to go leave and meet up with Alpha Squad, before he leaves, his team says, oh Han, just take this trash out of the way while you're still going. You don't even get to see the person that hands him the trash, because that's how, I guess, insignificant that they may be, or how insignificant they may see him as, because you can see the frame where they call his name and it seems like they might be calling him for something important, like he gets excited, but they're only giving him the trash to take out while he leaves. And as he walks outside, handing out the trash and dropping it off, Allison picks him up and says, oh, you're stuck in traffic, huh? Knowing good and well that he was kind of lying through his teeth. Now Alpha Team are carpooling with Allison and Han and September and Liam, and they're all converging to one place, which is Zenith Mall, where Jabari is already there, the very place that his mom wanted to take everyone that day. And they're all there just to have fun and play around. Now the dad kind of gets dragged away by Jabari's little sister, but the mom notices that Jabari is kind of distant, and she decides to stick to him and takes him to an arcade called the Retro Love. And this man is surrounded by a bunch of weebs and gamers who are all trying to have fun, and are surrounded by this cat girl performer who's surrounded by a bunch of her fans, and this other guy who is a world record holder for a new game, and his name is Varen Maxima. Now, Varen Maxima has all of his fans around him and they're all cheering for him, and he walks up to Jabari and his mom. And Jabari's surprised because she already knows who he is and they know each other kind of personally. And the reason why they know each other is because at the arcade, his mom holds the second highest score, and they both have been fighting to get the #1 spot. Kind of like some regular show type stuff. And Varen walks off, letting her know, like, hey, have fun, and I hope you see if you break the score again, kind of stuff, you know, trying to continue their rivalry. And then Jabari can actually notice, and of course Jabari takes notice, wondering, like, are you sure you took us on this trip randomly because you wanted to hang out with family, or are you here to just keep your high score on the highest? And then they have a brief conversation talking about, you know, hair, because she's trying to move away from the conversation to distract him. And she says now she's retired from being his hairstylist for his mom because she would do it really hard on him. So that's why he kind of like doesn't ask her to do it anymore, but whatever. And then they both decide to play a few games, have fun, play the games with a mother and son kind of dynamic, and they're enjoying themselves. And while Jabari loses and his mom, you know, mollywops him, she notices that he's still kind of down, and she asks him, like, you have been off all day, what's going on, why won't you talk to me? And basically Jabari kind of opens up a little bit, not talking about it in detail, but basically saying, I called out all of the gifted students in that location because he believed that they were taking advantage of our talents, and now he was wondering how long will it take before he will end up like everyone else at that school. And as his mom seemingly to become sympathetic, she kind of like pulls his ears, and like, you finally got a taste of what it feels like to be a parent of 2 teenagers. And she breaks it down to him, saying that, Jabari, your ability to speak from the heart is a blessing, but it will fall on deaf ears if you don't connect with the person you're attached to. So you can't just be talking to them like they're a wall. You can't just yell at them and expect them to understand you or speak to you. You have to be willing to understand them first. And that's when his teammates show up behind his mom, screaming his name, yelling at him, with Han getting strangled by Allison because for whatever reason he's smacking the top of her head for some reason. And the mom is asking like, oh, is these your friends? And like, he's being resistant, and she says, listen Jabari, I'll be here reclaiming my score. They called you out for you, so hear them out. Trying to tell him that be willing to listen to them and hear what they have to say. So he says I love you to his mom and walks away and meets up with Alpha Team. And Liam just says, don't you check your phone? And he shows him that there is leaker activity emitting from that district, from the very area that you're in. Then Liam breaks down that each leaker emits a distinct energy signature when transformed. The map the map that he got from his debrief showed that their last known location was right here as the Dawn Heart. And then Liam asks him, you wanted to protect your family, right? So now is your chance. So he looks back at his mom, clenches his fist and says, let's get to it. Moving on back to where we have Viron. So Viron and the cat lady girl, who we saw at the end of volume 3, have their own little tiny spot. And the cat girl seems to understand and tries to act and say that, oh, all of the stuff that they're doing seems to be a lot of work just for recon, and that it might be drawing more attention that they've ever hoped for or that they're aiming for. But Viron says, I believe that's the idea. And as he begins to transform, he turns into, I believe is his leaker form, which is a wire electricity base. I'm getting like a lot of feedback vibes from Ben 10 Omniverse. This is a sick design. I won't even lie to you. This is a pretty sick design for a leaker. I'm trying to understand how he transformed from his normal state to this state, but it's a really cool form. I won't lie. It's a pretty sick form. And that is the end of chapter 27. So we've just read through chapters 26 and 27 of Monster Remake Volume 4. Now, my thoughts so far. I am conflicted. I really like the premise of the story, but I believe how it is being told is not helping its case. So one of the biggest gripes that I said in my last video when I was reading through all of the best chapters of Monster Remake Volume 3, that last video I did say that I believed that he should move away from doing flashbacks in the beginning of the volume. Now granted, when I uploaded that video, that volume dropped already, so obviously those critiques were never gonna like hit that volume anyways. But either way, I believe that the very beginning where we were having the flashbacks and we're getting every answer we have about the Prometheus engine and what Mandata is trying to do, I believe he told us too much. I personally believe he told us too much, because I wanted it to be personally that we have the main characters, Jabari, Liam, September, Han, Allison, all of them together to discover this on their own, like finding their own reasons to go against Sonata and learn about the evilness that caused everything up to this point. Because Liam has a reason to look for this, but the only reason why he doesn't is because of his personal history with Madame Dean, with Lars, the situation that happened with Nala. He has a very deep relation to it, so it's very hard for him to move away from it. So it's very easy for him to resist, but at the same time he doesn't want to step out of line unnecessarily. But it's a lot more plausible for characters like Han or Jabari to do it. Now Jabari already was kind of curious about what Liam was doing, and he's getting these phone calls. Same thing with September. His teammates are very curious and worried about him, and they understand that this man might do something crazy, and it's already starting to boil over on his end. So what do? They try their best to help him out, but learn more about what's happening in Sonata. Because Han and September went to Lucas when he's in the hospital after his partner got eviscerated in Volume 1, but he doesn't tell them about the Prometheus engine or anything like that. And I'm pretty sure for good reason, but I'm not entirely sure what the aim is, because now we have more characters that were introduced in the backstory, and I feel like that the two stories, like the flashback storyline that we have with the 17 years ago chapters, is a prequel story that's happening on one side, and then we have the main character story that's not related to it. Because yes, the only relation we have is that their powers is born from the Darkest Night and the Leakers, and I believe that there isn't much connection between those storylines, or doesn't seem like they're converging anytime soon, because only September and Liam, or the original Alpha Squad before Jabari joins, have ran into Lucas, but they didn't really talk to him. only Han spoke to him, and even then Han doesn't know anything beyond that. So I have no real understanding of how they're trying to tell the story. It doesn't feel like it's like flowing connectively, like as seamless as I thought it was. Like I said in my last video, those last few chapters of volume 3 were the best because it was a sequence of events that feel like they flowed properly. We get the backstory of Liam, like from the third chapter where it ends off after he's being punished and he's getting into detention. He's thinking back about his history, about what happened to Nala, what happened, and it's basically torture for him every time he goes back into that situation. So he relives that entire experience in those chapters, and then at the end of the chapter he's still in the detention center, and even though that he's in there, he still feels resistance and he feels defiance, so he has to go through it again. So it's implying that he's going to relive that experience again in that detention area. So Liam has a lot more characterization in the story so far, because that's like the most seamless that it's been. Everything else so far has been pretty like it doesn't feel like it's flowing properly, because I feel like they're trying to have all of the side stories, all of the side plots, all of the B plots and C plots be told at the same time, and given that the chapter lengths and the amount of panels they have, it's not enough for me to get invested properly. So prime example, right? We get more conversations with Jabari and his family, and Jabari is getting to learn new stuff about his mom, because his mom, is an avid gamer and she holds the highest record, and she has this beef with this one dude. Cool. It's all funsies. It's cool. And you get a little bit of more relationship building with him and his family. And you can see that he has this goal to solve this problem. But he doesn't know anything. He doesn't know what we know. He doesn't know any of it. The only person who has any understanding of it is Han in September, but they didn't even get told that either. They only got told by Lucas that like there is a lot of underground stuff that you have to find, so that way you don't get in trouble. Just make sure you do it properly. So I don't know. Like the first two chapters are like the second. I believe that the second chapter is not bad because it does give us a glimpse of the home lives of each character, so you can understand why they have these different motivations for each other, why they feel like they still have to be hounds, even so that they could easily quit. Like September, you can understand why she stays. Jabari, you can understand why he stays. Allison's one is a little bit more ambiguous because you don't know what her mom is trying to get her back into or try to drag her into, whether it's related to the hospital or not. And the only one that's like not very obvious is Han, but then again, we'll probably learn that as we go along, outside of him trying to save or learn about the deaths of his friend and try to get them the justice that they deserve. But I think the chapter 1 for volume 4 so far is probably the weakest so far, which I feel bad saying because that's just how I personally feel, because I feel like they starting to introduce more characters that may jump up in the later future, and it might become a little bit too much information for me to follow. Like it'd be something where I'm like, I don't feel like I need these many characters, because I still have yet to build a very strong connection to these main casts yet. I haven't. Like this chapter, the second chapter, does a better job of trying to understand that I get what their motivations are. They feel a little bit stronger with the relationships of each character, but I need them to build the relationships with the main cast as well. So like I need Jabari and Liam to talk to each other. I need to see the relationship between Jabari and Han. We got that in volume 1 when they were going on their first mission, and I wanted to see if they would develop into becoming best friends like Gear and Static in the Static Shock TV show. But so far that seems to be the case. That doesn't seem to be what's going on right now. But the Alpha team still seems like they're kind of resistant to each other, except for, September, Liam, Allison, and Han. Like they seem to have like their invisible trust line with each other, except for Jabari, because obviously Jabari is still kind of abrasive towards them. So I am hoping in the next few chapters, when we move on from this one, when they get unlocked, because I believe the next one should be unlocked on March 16th. So I'm going to talk about it when that drops as well. I want to see them build that relationship with Jabari and the Alpha team. And when the next volume drops, I'm already going to say this. I do not want to see a flashback chapter. I don't. I want to see the information learned through the characters. I want to learn it through the progression of the story. I want me to feel the mystery. One of the reasons why I enjoyed one of my favorite historically horror-esque animes, Tokyo, was because you don't learn much about the backstory of everything until you look it through the eyes of Kaneki. You get every ounce of information through Kaneki. We're kind of getting told the exposition of the backstory, like, oh look, there's a dark dimension and people started granting wishes and we have the Prometheus engine and this is how it works and blah 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 blah. And I kind of feel like, I would have preferred to have learned that through like a rogue mission or something, because I feel like that would be more tense, more intense, more meaningful, instead of just learning it through the backstory, because the flashbacks are not done through the lens of somebody else. If they are, then it doesn't feel like that way. It feels like it's just kind of like, hey, flashback, here's exposition, here's what might be happening in the background, this is how leakers are going to be start forming, blah 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 blah. Because I'm pretty sure, if I am correct, the next volume is going to talk about how leakers are made. Because if the next volume does that in the flashback, I'm not going to be happy. I would rather see it through the lens of either Jabari or any of the other characters. But yeah, I mean, I guess I would probably say, so far, I would say the first chapter, I'll probably give it, like, I don't want to be mean, but this is just how I personally feel. I'll probably give it like a 4 out of 10. Closer to 5, but 4 out of 10. And the next chapter after that is a good 5 out of 10, so it's a little bit better. I hope the next few chapters are better. I'm not trying to be a hater. I really do like this manga. I want to see it succeed. So this is just my personal opinions. But yeah, that's all I gotta say about Monster Remakes chapters 1 and 2 for volume 4. Let me know what you guys feel about it in the comments. Did you guys enjoy it? Did you guys dislike it? What did you guys feel about it? Do you guys feel like it's getting better? Or do you feel like it's getting worse? What do you think it should improve upon? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear the discussions. Other than that, it's your boy Kadukun. I'll see you guys next time, and peace.
FMA, handle business, don't play. On point when it comes to the anime. Jack and Daxter, ayy, let's go. The ultimate heroes, don't stop, we on the road. Kadukun, yeah.